What's happening, everybody? Dom here from Lensprotogo and Lens Rentals. Welcome back to the channel. So what is this neat little piece of gear I have right next to me? This is the Blackmagic Design Video Assist in the 12G flavor. In total, there are 4 of these Video Assist monitors from Blackmagic. There's a 5 and 7 inch 3G model and a 5 and 7 inch 12G model. So I suppose that means I've got the biggest and bestest of them all today. Sorry to all my past English teachers out there. So today I pretty much just wanted to take this whole video to roll out some things that I think you should know about the Blackmagic Design Video Assist. Because yes, this can be an awesome option for video monitoring or external recording out of a video camera. And then there are a couple of things that aren't so straightforward. So pretty much the purpose of this video is to possibly help you iron out some of those issues. But in short, it's a great little monitor. I'm going to try to contrast a couple of differences between its main competitors out there, like the Atomos Shogun. So I'm going to give you a quick physical overview of this monitor. Then we'll work our way onto the inside, talk about the menu, navigation, recording modes, and all that. At first glance, I thought this might have been a pretty bulky option, but honestly, butted up to its competition, it's roughly the same size, give or take a couple dimensions here and there. But I would say the key difference between there is on the Shogun, there's that whole slot for that slide-in SATA connection type of hard drive, where the Video Assist still has all that bulk to it, but the hard drive is coming off of this monitor too. So that's going to give it some added bulk. The screen itself is really wonderful. It's a 7-inch LCD. It's a little bit of a stretched out full HD aspect ratio at 1920 by 1200 pixels. It's very sharp. It's capable of getting very bright, and yet it's still contrasty. The touch screen is really responsive. This front side here with the screen is also where you're going to be able to tell what type of model it is, if it has the HDR and 12G-SDI capabilities. And then also at the bottom, next to the logo, a teeny little speaker box right here. Moving on to the good stuff, as for the inputs and outputs, on the left side of the monitor, we have 2 XLR mini inputs for analog audio control. Not a huge fan of the XLR minis, but what are you going to do? 2 12G SDI ports, one in and one out. They're inset in the housing a little bit in a little cave, so they're flush with the wall of the monitor and they don't stick out. Next to those, 2 2.0 HDMI ports, again, one in and one out. And alongside all of those inputs and outputs is this thin strip for ventilation, and then under that, these labels in white. Now, on the other side, at the bottom, locking power adapter. Above that, 2 UHS Type 2 SD card slots. We'll get into media and recording in a sec, but they're going to pop in the opposite way there. Above that, a 3.5mm headphone out, a LAN C input, and this pretty small power button. One minor complaint, I would have liked for this to be a little bit bigger, but no big deal. And again, same thing all along the side of all of this, a thin strip of ventilation with all of these things labeled in white. So as for the top and bottom of this monitor, the top, you get 3 evenly spaced out quarter 20 threads at pretty much the thirds of the monitor, and another large block of ventilation here, and in the center of that is going to be your tally light. Now on the sides of the ventilation are these 2 buttons here. These are actually the battery releases for each of the battery slots, and that was not the first place I would have thought that it would have been. Now switching over to the bottom, you get these same 3 quarter 20 threads on the thirds down here, though in between 2 of those is the USB-C out, where your external SSD is going to hook into, or anything that's relying on a USB connection. I think it's a little out of place here if you ask me. I wouldn't mind if this USB down here was in addition to one that was somewhere on the side of the monitor, like on the inputs outputs panel. Not really sure on the decision making there, but more about that when we talk about getting an SSD on this monitor. But also on the bottom is where you're going to find all of this make and model and manufacturer details and such. Now for the back of this 7-inch Video Assist. Big old exhaust fan in the back. I can tell they paid a lot of attention to the heat management on this thing. There's basically ventilation on every side of it. That exhaust fan is in the middle of these 2 L-series battery plates. I've been pairing it up with these Hawkwood 790 batteries. Now back to this, as I mentioned before, the 2 battery releases for battery slots 1 and 2 are on their corresponding sides, but on the top of the monitor right there. Again, not the first place I would think of, but that's a quick physical overview of this thing. A couple helpful hints that I think you needed to know before we even turn this thing on. But now I am going to dive into that part of this video where we power this puppy on, and we're going to go over some things about the workflow and operating this monitor, the important stuff. If you've worked with anything from Blackmagic Design before, this menu system and user interface is going to look very familiar. A lot of the same functionality as, say, the Ursa cameras or the Blackmagic Pocket cameras. To get into my menus, I'm just going to hit these little sliders icon in the top right here. This is going to access my menu. 5-tab Blackmagic Design menu, record, monitor, audio, setup, and LUTs. Moving things along here, a couple things I think you should know about the media situation. It'll take 2 UHS Type 2 SD cards. You can set the type of recording that's done to those SD cards, like continuous relay, simultaneous. So other than SD just being a nice common user-friendly option for media, for big projects, and in my opinion just the best way to utilize this Video Assist would be to record to an external hard drive over USB. So I'll just quickly show you what my process of doing that looked like. So I'm using one of these Samsung T5 portable SSDs, and actually if you rent one of these, we're going to actually include a little 3D printed mounting bracket for essentially this exact reason. So I've got 2 SDs in there, but now I'm going to want to attach that external SSD on there, wait for that to pop up on the front screen here, and now I'm just going to click on any of these media items right here. You can tell how much record time is going to be allowed for each type of media given the recording mode, so they'll change hopping from mode to mode. And additionally, again, just another good thing to know, anything can be recorded to any type of media on this thing. The highest fidelity Blackmagic RAW can be recorded to one of these SD card slots, but write speeds, card type, and size, any of those limitations are going to apply for that. SSD is really just going to be the best option for this, although it can be a little bit clunky getting the external SSD mounted onto this monitor, if that's how you're doing. Okay, another big thing to know, and maybe this was just me being naive, but the Blackmagic Video Assist will allow for Blackmagic RAW recording from basically anything but a Blackmagic camera, which seems a little strange, I guess, or just unexpected, but I guess if you think about it, you really don't need that functionality if it can be recorded internally anyways. I would like the option, but whatever. It's not totally de-incentivized though. You are getting added functionality, like more camera controls are tethered, metadata is going to work a little bit more seamlessly, but it's not going to allow for B-RAW recording out from a pocket cam like I naively thought. But other than Blackmagic RAW, you're going to have a couple of flavors of ProRes, HQ, 422, LT, and Proxy, and also you're going to have this really helpful DNxHR codec. One is high quality, one standard quality, one is low, and then you're going to get a high, standard, and low, but in MXF files. You get this whole page here for setting up audio, which is really neat. The Video Assist can record up to 16 channels of audio at a time, and channels 1 and 2 connected to the XLRs are analog sources that can be live mixed inside the monitor here. A lot more options to input LUTs in this monitor, which is definitely going to be utilized by a lot of people, not necessarily me. However, and pretty much this was the real purpose of making this video going into this, but there are now a lot of other camera bodies from a bunch of different manufacturers that have tacked on Blackmagic RAW recording in addition to their video recording modes. And for those cameras, that is going to be an excellent use for this Video Assist. If you click on the technical specifications for each of these monitor models, you'll see which cameras from which manufacturers have Blackmagic RAW recording supported. And there are some cameras on that list that you would really expect. Like, it's not such a surprise that the Sigma FP has a B-RAW setting or any of these Lumix cameras, but I am a bit surprised at like Nikon or Canon, considering these are both manufacturers who have worked pretty hard to develop their own RAW video format. They clearly felt the need to give their user base that Blackmagic RAW recording option too. To speak to that, another helpful thing to know, something I was wondering about, as far as I can tell, you are not really going to be limited in either way if you're choosing between SDI versus HDMI. I think the differences there are going to be more camera to camera. Some cameras are going to be a little more SDI friendly. Some cameras are only going to have HDMI. Also, another pretty helpful thing to note, whatever video cable you are using to record Blackmagic RAW video, one of these handy little bi-directional splitters will carry on that Blackmagic RAW signal. So that's pretty neat. And the last helpful thing I think you need to know about the Blackmagic Video Assist, on any of these models, they have all these really helpful video tools. You click on this little waveform icon in this tab right here. It'll take you to this menu where you can choose from all of these overlays. You can picture in picture, you can make it slightly opaque and have the image like behind it and have the waveform respond in real time. That can be really useful, or honestly just plain old entertaining. You could just use this monitor just for this purpose if you wanted to, just for a certain exposure tool. And honestly, all of these scopes and readings and everything seem like like really granular and responsive. So to me, that's just Blackmagic Design really flexing their color science knowledge there. All right, y'all, that is pretty much gonna do it on this video, covering some things that I think you should know about the Blackmagic Video Assist. As always, if you had any questions, drop a comment in the comment section below and we'll start a discussion. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. And once you do that, this little bell button is gonna pop up. If you hit that, you will be notified and kept in the loop whenever we post new content, which is every week. So people, don't be afraid to ask for assistance once in a while. And we'll see you in the next one.